Okay, so I also preached last Sunday, and last Sunday we are, or let's start from beginning, that we are in the Gospel of John for a few months, and last week we spoke about when Jesus fed the 5,000 people, or actually 5,000 men, was around 20,000 people in John 6, and right now we are ending that story. And that story ended up the way that Jesus saw that the people and the crowd who were listening, 20,000 people, wanted to make him a king. They were ready to force him to be a king. So they saw how powerful Jesus is, and they thought that they will make him a king. So what Jesus did, he commanded to his disciples to get on a boat, and he flee away. He flee into the mountains without them knowing where he went. He went to speak with Jesus. But it is in verse 16, the John 6:16 is written that now when the evening came, his disciple went to the lake and got into the boat and started to cross the lake to Capharnaum. It had already become dark, and Jesus has not yet come to them. But now strong wind was blowing, and the sea was getting rough. And then when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they caught sight of Jesus walking on the lake and approaching the boat, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat came to the land where they had been heading. And John described it this way, but Mark actually say immediately in Mark 6:45-52, he said that story a little differently, and he said immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat. It was something what he commanded them to do because he saw the crowd was ready to make him a king, and he know it is not the right thing to do at the moment, and he also knew that their intention, the crowd intention, was to make him a political king. What he was not want to be. He want to be a king of glory, and there was a different way. There was a different plan. And so we heard a story, and many times this story is also connected in Matthew 14, when the same story is described. Now I need to confirm if I not lied to you. No, Matthew 14 is when Jesus walking on the water. It's also described with this gospel writer, but there is an addition of also Peter walking on the water. And I think everybody, even non-Christian, Christian, non-Christian people, they know that Jesus walked on the water. There's always a jokes and I don't know how to say meme in English. Memes, yeah. There is always Jesus shown, and as he walking on the water. I saw some picture of people like this guy he's either Jesus or he will break his head because he's somehow standing on the ice or some type of water. So people know that Jesus walked on the water, and some people also know, even non-Christian outside of the church, that Peter also somehow get on the water and walked. But this is not where I will be focusing today, or how Jesus walked on the water, because I have no idea how he did it. It was a miracle, and it sometimes for us is not important how the miracle happens. It just happens. But for me, was very interesting, or somehow stood up from this story, the disciples. They just saw a miracle in a little bit before. They saw 20,000 people being fed by 2 fishes and 5 breads. That's a miracle. They saw the 12 basket full of leftovers. they saw this miracle, and immediately after this, Jesus is commanding them, go into the boat and go to Bethesda. On the other side to Bethesda, to the city. He commanded them to do. So what they're doing? They are obeying Jesus' words. They are doing what Jesus is told them. And they were fishermen. For them, to rowing or going on a boat in the dark wasn't a big problem. For me, and Jesus asked me, I'm on that shore, and Jesus is asking me, get on the boat and, get across this sea. I would be like, wait, it's dark, I'm scared. But they were not too much scared. It was their place. Many of them was from their locality. Many of them was a fisherman on that sea when Jesus came to them and called them to be disciples. So they knew that waters, it was their place. And this is actually the second time they were in the storm on this same lake. This lake or the sea, the Galilean Sea is Sea of Galilee is known for the change of weather, because it is 182 meters below sea level, surrounded with mountains, and there is so many times when the cool air will come in the evenings. There is a big winds, what will raise the water, and it will start the storm, and it will start the waves, and it is so normal. So these people, these fishermen, these disciples, knew what is happening. They were maybe expecting rough water. And obviously here we are not hearing that they are afraid of that wind. In the first story, if you remember, there was another story when Jesus was with his disciples on the boat. He was sleeping and there was a storm and they were afraid. They came to wake up Jesus and said, Jesus, help us, we are dying. They were afraid. In this story, this is a different story, a little bit later on, is the second time. They are alone and they might be a little frustrated because they are rowing, going against wind, but in so long time, the John and the Mark and the Matthew, all of them saying that they were not reaching the end after so many hours and after so many, almost in the morning of the day, almost all night they were rowing, but they were not able to reach the shore. So they were frustrated, maybe not that, scared like the first time, and they didn't know what will be happening. And it is very interesting that in the Gospel of Mark, not the John is describing it differently. It is the Mark 6, chapter 6, 45 and 52, and I will read just a part of it, not the whole story. When Jesus was, after saying goodbye to them, he went to the mountain to pray. When evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. He saw them straining at the oars because the wind was against them. As the night was ending, he came to them walking on the sea, for he wanted to pass by them. When they saw him walking on the water, they thought he was a ghost. They cried out, and they all saw him and were terrified. This is very interesting part, what John is not describing it, that Jesus actually saw them and he was there with them. He had the control what was happening. He knew that this is not somehow, he didn't leave them on that boat by themselves. And he decided he will walk past them. What is funny, he was maybe creating a joke for them, like, I will leave you here, you got on the boat, and we will We will see each other on the next shore, on the other side of the shore. And Jesus was preparing a joke in his mind that I will just walk on the water, and then when they will coming to shore, I will be there. It's like, hey guys, what's up? So they might be confused, like, are we on the same side of the shore, or what is happening? I don't know. This is I think Jesus has a humor itself, and we can see that in some stories. If we not take it, if we are able to see those jokes he tried to make. But I don't know if this is the real intention of Jesus, why he tried to pass them, but he was definitely present with them, and he knew what they were going through. How it is with us when we are going through stuff or life periods or moments, what Jesus is inviting us into, and we are there, we're doing His will, but we don't see the progress. We're trying all night like disciples. We're trying all months, all year to do something what He called us to do. And we don't see results. We don't see the progress. We feel alone. We feel abandoned. We felt that Jesus left us. He went to pray with God, but He left us on the boat. We are frustrated as disciples were, because it is not fun going through struggles. It is not fun to be challenged by, for disciples, wind, but for us it's each of us has a different challenge in front of us, different obstacles. And those who know me know this story, but in February 2022, God called us back as a family to the mission field. And in that February, we said, God, okay, we will go back. We're ready. In 2-3 months we can go. God, let us pack everything and we will go. It's June 2023. We are still here. We're still rowing against the wind. We're still going. Many times I feel abandoned. I feel that Jesus is not with me. I'm doing His will. Understand me right. But I feel alone. We are feeling alone. You might have a different story or situation in your life. What is in your mind right now? Something you're trying. Business, school, relationship, whatever. Maybe something spiritual. Maybe something you want to start a ministry. And you are not able to because you're trying, you're doing your best. But it's like you're fighting against all the odds, the wind, the water. And you feel like Jesus is not there. And then disciples were fighting and struggling, and suddenly there is a person walking in the middle of the Sea of the Galilee. I shouldn't say what I would do in the church. I would probably need to go bathroom. If I see the ghost in the dark, all the waves, imagine that. Now we reading it as a story, as a few words, as a few sentences. But imagine that you are on that boat, what is rocking from side to side, and Jesus sends you, and you are confused because He just fed 20,000 by 2 fish and 5 breads, and you are there alone. You don't know what will happen. You don't really know. And suddenly there is a person walking in the middle of the storm, on that rough water. And He's just walking. I would be scared. Maybe there is no Jesus we see. There is not the ghost we saw in our circumstances, in our lives. But maybe we are also scared in our situation. I'm scared. Because every time we decide to do what is God's will, every time we follow His orders, whatever it is, it's a ministry or it's a new job, it is a relationship, whatever He is leading us into, when we get on the journey, we left the previous destination. We left what we knew. And we move forward. And we're losing that. We are losing what we knew. And we are going somewhere what we don't know. That's the reality of the journey. And we are scared. We don't know how this will end up. Disciples, they didn't have an idea how this will end up. They were frustrated after so long of rowing and trying. And when they saw the ghost or saw the Jesus, they got scared. But Jesus said to them, and this is something what is repeating in all the Gospels. He said, "It is I. Do not be afraid." It is I. Do not be afraid. It is I who changed water to wine. It is I who fed 5,000, 20,000 people. It is I who healed the sick, who cast the demons. It is I. Do not be afraid. And I want that this sentence will be resonating in your mind today and this week. When you will be in the situations when you will get scared. And I'm telling you, for us as a family with 7 children to decide to go on the mission field, it's a scary thing. What that will do with our children, what that transition what will happen. We are going to a place where we were before. We know all the challenges and troubles what are in the reservation. Sometimes when you go somewhere for the first time, you are not aware of the problems. So you're blind, so you are more optimistic. But when you go somewhere where you know the challenge, it is scary just because of that challenge. I'm scared, to be honest. I'm scared of going. I'm scared of staying. But I believe I'm doing His will. I'm obeying what He tells me to do. So these words resonating in me. It is I. Do not be afraid. It is I who took care of you, Roman. It is I who took care of you. It is I. It is I who made a miracle last time you were in this situation. And when we live with Jesus, we had these memories. We had these life stories, how God took care of us. But in the middle of the storm, on that rocky boat, we tend to forget. And, I'm saying, Roman, you are scared and now you're preaching this. Because I'm not any superhuman or super Christian or any kind of VIP level. I got some entry into some VIP pages. I can see some more. I have the same brain as you have. Same worries, same troubles, same things. Maybe I should get a job to provide for my kids instead of dragging them all over the world. Preach the gospel. What's the first responsibility you should do? Take care of your children, right? But I know what I heard. I know what I was called to do. So, we all going through the same thing. Same as disciples. We're scared, frustrated, afraid. We are going through the same things. Same challenges. Maybe different circumstances. We are not on a boat. We will not probably see Jesus walking on the earth, on the water. But it is for us to hear this word. It is I, do not be afraid. Please remember this week, or maybe next 2 weeks, that Jesus is there. He's watching. He's with you, present in your challenge. You might be out there thinking crazy ideas, but He's with you right now. And I want to pray, but I will ask the worship band to do the song, if you are willing. Toby asked that I should. Are you ready? Yeah. I like challenges, right? No. They were during the practice. They were doing some improvising, and Toby said, "Let's do this in the end of the service." I said, "Okay." So. So if you are able to do that song is Aaronic blessing for all of us. It is so powerful. I can watch that. I just recently, Friday, I found this song where, people from 87 nations singing this song in different languages, and, amazing. And I will not pray in the end of my sermon like I usually do, but will be the prayer. These Aaronic blessings over your life. But remember that Jesus is there and He's saying, "It is I. Do not be afraid."
This song is the blessing. It's the blessing for our family. Lives, and there's this part Roman said today, do not be afraid, because God is with us. And in fact, there's the part of the song says He's with us, coming out. So if you want to sing with us, if you don't know the lyrics, you can go on Google and just search for the blessing. Here they are. Or maybe it's okay. Yeah.
Great. Amen.